Konoha. I upgraded Sage Mode to Immortal Cultivation Technique. Chapter 1. Ding! Congratulations to the host for successfully making a detonating talisman. The proficiency in making detonating talisman is +1. Ding! Congratulations to the host for successfully making a detonating talisman. The proficiency in making detonating talisman is +1. In a forest in Konoha village, dozens of Yu's clones were concentrating on making detonating talismans. Every time these clones successfully create a detonating talisman, a mechanical notification sound will sound in Yu's mind. As a large number of detonating symbols were successfully produced, suddenly, the sound in Yu's mind changed. Ding! Congratulations to the host who has reached the full level of making explosion talisman proficiency. Making the explosion talisman is automatically upgraded to explosion style. Hearing this different mechanical prompt sound, Yu's body immediately stopped what he was doing, feeling overjoyed. Sure enough, as I guessed, after the detonating talisman reaches the full level, the system will automatically upgrade it to the explosion style. My continuous proficiency in the liver detonating talisman these days is not in vain. Yu is not from this world. His soul comes from the earth. Yes, Yu is a time traveler. Like most time travelers, he traveled to the ninja world 10 years ago and became a Konoha baby who lost his parents. What? You ask why the main character is an orphan. Yu said, I'm an adult soul. If you call a stranger mom or dad, it's embarrassing for you, but it's embarrassing for me. You also ask why the protagonist was born in Konoha. Yu said that Konoha has many popular characters, which are easy to interact with and everyone loves to watch them. Closer to home, Yu also turned on the system after traveling through time. For the past 10 years, the system has been loading. Just half a month ago, the system was finally loaded. At that time, Yu also knew the capabilities of the system, a system that became stronger through continuous improvement of proficiency. On that day, he couldn't wait to use the system to start gaining proficiency. Because he knew that in 2 years' time, the Third Ninja War would break out. Unfortunately, the ninjas of their generation, like Kakashi, Uchiha Obito, Might Guy, are all going to the battlefield. Although he has been practicing hard over the years. But he is too young, and he does not have wall-hanging bloodlines such as Sharingan and Byakugan. No matter how hard he works, his strength improvement is very limited. In the face of the general trend of war, who can dare to say that they are invincible unless they are as strong as First Hokage and Uchiha Madara? In order to increase the chance of surviving the Third Ninja War, Yu needs to use these nearly 2.5 years to practice various ninjutsu and continuously become stronger through gaining proficiency. To this end, Yu made a series of plans. First, he focused on the various forbidden techniques developed by Second Hokage. Especially the Flying Thunder God. This is the magical, escape, skill. With the Flying Thunder God, his chances of survival on the battlefield will be greatly improved. As for Flying Thunder God, it's hard to learn and master. Yu said it doesn't exist. As long as you appear on my system panel, I can help you reach full level. The most important thing now is how to learn forbidden techniques such as Flying Thunder God. Without Father Hokage and Master Sanin's Yu, it would be difficult to have the opportunity to come into contact with these forbidden techniques, let alone learn them. Looking for Third Hokage. Looking for the future Fourth Hokage. This may be a direction. But Yu wants more than just the Flying Thunder God. He wants all the other forbidden techniques developed by Second Hokage. In order to solve the problem once and for all, Johan plans to find Orochimaru. Orochimaru during this period had not yet rebelled against Konoha. Orochimaru, who witnessed the tragic death of Tsunade's brother and lover, is secretly studying various forbidden techniques of Second Hokage. And this is convenient for Yu. Although Yu wanted to come directly to Orochimaru and say, Orochimaru, you don't want your secret research on forbidden technique to be exposed, right? But reason told him that he must not do this, otherwise, there would be an extra corpse of a time traveler on Orochimaru's autopsy table. Therefore, Yu planned to bring gifts to the door, which was more polite. He believed that Orochimaru would like this gift very much. And this gift is the clone of White Zetsu. For Orochimaru in this period, White Zetsu's clone is of great research value. A clone of White Zetsu, replaced by forbidden technique of Second Hokage. This makes sense, right? In addition, Yu also needs to have the strength not to be easily killed by Orochimaru. Otherwise, Orochimaru is very likely to say, confused, kill you, White Zetsu's clone is also mine. For this reason, Yu has been brushing up on the proficiency of several ninjutsu he has mastered over the past half-month. In the process, he discovered that using Shadow Clone technique not only increases the proficiency of Shadow Clone technique, but also increases the proficiency of the ninjutsu exponentially when practicing ninjutsu with Shadow Clone. Regarding this, Yu felt both surprised and reasonable. After all, in Hokage, when Uzumaki Naruto developed the wind-style spiral shuriken, he took advantage of the fact that multiple Shadow Clone techniques can accumulate experience exponentially, allowing the wind-style spiral shuriken that originally took several years to be developed. Riken was developed in just 1 month. After discovering this characteristic of Shadow Clone, Yu temporarily gave up practicing other ninjutsu and focused on improving the proficiency of Shadow Clone technique. Maybe it's because Shadow Clone technique is not difficult, or maybe Yu has mastered Shadow Clone technique very proficiently. In less than 2 days, he has reached the full level of Shadow Clone technique, and on the system panel, it is also natural that an enhanced version of Shadow Clone technique, Multiple Shadow Clone technique, appeared. After the Shadow Clone technique was upgraded to Multiple Shadow Clone, Yu did not deliberately improve the proficiency of the Multiple Shadow Clone technique. When he used the Multiple Shadow Clone technique to improve his proficiency in other ninjutsu, his proficiency in the Multiple Shadow Clone technique had already increased. This is just like when a person practices swinging a knife, his arm strength will also be trained. With Multiple Shadow Clone techniques, Yu's proficiency in other ninjutsu is rising slowly and quickly. In less than a week, the transformation technique in the 3-body technique and the D-level ninjutsu body flicker technique were both maxed out. The upgraded abilities of the full-level transformation technique and the full-level body flicker technique brought unexpected surprises to Yu. Transformation technique max level right pointing arrow pretend to be technique. Body flicker technique max level right pointing arrow phantom body flicker technique. The pretend technique is a variation of the technique possessed by White Zetsu. White Zetsu used this move to bring great chaos to the ninja coalition during the 4th Ninja War. The phantom body flicker technique is a body flicker technique that Uchiha Shisui needs to cooperate with Sharingan to perform. And Yu, there is no Sharingan at all. What does this mean? This shows that mine is hanging above yours. At that moment, Yu's eyes fell on the system panel, which was originally very inconspicuous, making detonation talisman. Over the years, Yu has relied on Shadow Clone to make detonating charms to make a living. After the system was loaded, the ability to make detonating symbols also appeared on the system panel. Before that, Yu only wanted to practice ninjutsu and didn't care about the skill of making detonating talismans. But after seeing an example of the full-level body flicker technique being upgraded to a phantom body flicker technique, Yu decided to give it a try. Except for the tasks in the village that wasted some time, Yu spent the rest of his time busy. A week later, the proficiency in making detonating talismans was finally maxed out, and the max-level detonating talisman was upgraded to explosion style. If I maximize my proficiency in the explosion style, I should be able to make art like an explosion like Deidara. Although Yu wants to start working on the proficiency of explosion style immediately, so that the art of explosion can be released as soon as possible. But his chakra capacity does not allow him to do this. He's not Uzumaki Naruto. There is not as much chakra as the Uzumaki clan. They also don't have the cockroach-like resilience of the Uzumaki clan. After experiencing the pain caused by the drying up of chakra once, he would always have some energy left over every time his liver exploded. Therefore, when he casts multiple Shadow Clone, he only releases dozens of them, not more. He didn't want to die like Kakashi because of running out of mana. Let's get here today and start explosion style tomorrow. When the proficiency of explosion style is maxed out, prepare to go to Orochimaru and ask for the forbidden technique. In addition, the proficiency of the figures should also be improved. I don't want the art I created to be criticized for being ugly. Yu smiled and shook his head, then released multiple Shadow Clone techniques. Bang bang bang. After streaks of white smoke, dozens of Shadow Clones disappeared in the woods. The next second, Yu's legs trembled, as if his kidneys were overdrawn, his face turned pale and his body trembled. This is the sequelae of excessive use of chakra. Oh, every time I cancel multiple shadow clone techniques, I get this shiver. The young ladies in the village have been looking at me in a strange way recently. The amount of chakra is still too little. Yi Yu held on to the big tree next to him and focused his gaze on a transparent light screen in front of him. This transparent light curtain is naturally the system panel that can only be seen by Yi Yu himself. Host: Yi Yu. Blood inheritance limit. Explosion style progress bar 1%. Ninjutsu. Shadow clone technique full level. Transformation technique full level. Body flicker technique full level. Multiple shadow clone technique progress bar 15%. Impersonate technique progress bar 2%. Physical skills progress bar 35%. Illusion none. Ability make detonating talisman full level. Chakra extraction progress bar 45%. Yi Yu glanced at the progress bars of explosion style and multiple shadow clone technique, and then his eyes fell on the final chakra extraction. In the ninja world, there is no quick way to practice chakra. Most ninjas have been sharpening their minds and bodies since childhood, practicing both internal and external training, and accumulating chakra bit by bit. Some ninjas do not have enough chakra no matter how much they practice. Some ninjas don't practice much, but their chakra capacity is comparable to that of tailed beasts. It's completely unreasonable. What, have I also entered the unreasonable ranks? That's okay. When your proficiency in chakra extraction is maxed out, you should be able to gain the ability to quickly increase the amount of chakra. During these days, Yi Yu's practice of chakra has not stopped. He spends some time every morning practicing chakra. But the progress bar of chakra extraction is too long. In half a month, the progress bar only increased from 29% to 45%. The progress is only increased by 1% almost every day, and it will take 2 months to reach 100%. In fact, 1% progress every day is not too slow. It's just that with Yi Yugon's ninjutsu before, he was either full in 2 days or full in a week. Comparing the two, it will appear slow. Once Yi Yu's chakra amount is greatly increased, both liver proficiency will be faster, and it will be more convenient to learn Sage Mode in the future. Yes, in addition to second Hokage's forbidden technique, Sage Mode is also on Yi Yu's must-learn list. He had already thought about how to get Jiraiya to take him to Mount Myoboku. In 3 words, Jiraiya took me to Mount Myoboku to learn Sage Mode. First sentence. You use Shadow Clone technique first. Second sentence. You turned Shadow Clone into a beauty. The third sentence. You let the beauty turned into Shadow Clone serve you. Serve oneself, referred to as self. Your special girl is really a genius. It's a pity that Jiraiya is not in Konoha village now. In addition, Yi Yu's current chakra amount is not enough to learn Sage Mode. Besides Sage Mode, he wants Sharingan, Rinnegan. Although the abilities of Sharingan and Rinnegan are limited by blood inheritance, they cannot be obtained through learning at all. But Yi Yu can still do it by putting the blood inheritance limits he wants on the system panel. The simplest and crudest way is to transplant. If you don't have Sharingan, transplant Sharingan, and then upgrade Sharingan's proficiency all the way, from Sharingan to Mangekyo, to Eternal Mangekyo, Rinnegan. However, Yi Yu didn't intend to do this unless it was absolutely necessary. He has no habit of blindfolding himself. He plans to learn the spiritualization technique and then allow his soul to enter the body of someone with a Sharingan. Then manipulate the person's body and continuously increase Sharingan's proficiency until the progress of Sharingan appears on the system panel. In this way, Yi Yu will obtain the blood inheritance limit, Sharingan. Similarly, other blood inheritance limits can also be obtained using this method. Yi Yu, you are indeed here. Just when Yi Yu was recycling the detonating talisman made by his clones, a familiar voice suddenly came from behind him. Looking around, I saw a young man with thick eyebrows, wrapped in a green jumpsuit, showing his white teeth, and jumped down from the branch of the tree in high spirits. The person coming was none other than Might Guy. In the original drama, Might Guy, Ebisu, and Shiranui Genma are teammates. But now, Yohane has replaced Ebisu and become a teammate of Might Guy and Shiranui Genma. Guy, do you have a mission? Yi Yu put away the last detonating talisman, looked sideways at the visitor and asked. Might Guy grinned, his white teeth shining dazzlingly in the sun. Yes, it's a sea-level mission, we have to leave the village. Hearing Might Guy's words, Yi Yu sighed helplessly. Now he only wants to increase his proficiency, and really doesn't want to do tasks, let alone do village tasks. This is such a waste of time. Yi Yu, we are in our youth and our blood is surging. Don't sigh all the time. Might Guy is youthful and gesticulating with his hands as he speaks. Yi Yu knows that Might Guy's personality is like this, and he has long been used to it. Suddenly, his mind moved and he asked aloud, what is the mission this time? Where to go? Yi Yu is more concerned about the latter. Ordinary ninjas are not allowed to leave the village unless necessary. Yi Yu also wants to catch a white Zetsu and trade it with Orochimaru. He planned to take this opportunity to leave the village and see if he could catch a white Zetsu. During the Fourth Ninja War, a lot of white Zetsu were captured. At this time, white Zetsu was still very rare. But Yi Yu knew that there must be a place where white Zetsu appeared. That's the mountain cemetery. This is the cave where Uchiha Madara pulled out the oxygen tube. I don't know, I didn't ask. Might Guy replied confidently. Yi Yu rolled his eyes. While talking, the two of them had left the woods and arrived at the residential area of Konoha. Hey, you went in the wrong direction. Kao Genma is waiting for us at school. Seeing Yi Yu walking towards the street, Might Guy hurriedly stopped him. I'm going to sell detonating charms, Yi Yu said without stopping. Detonating charms are his main source of income. Since he started to improve his proficiency in detonating talismans, his success rate in making detonating talismans has also skyrocketed. At first, Yi Yu could only make a maximum of 10 detonating charms a month. But now dozens of them can be produced in a day. A detonating talisman can be sold for 300 taels during non-war periods. Dozens of them, that's nearly 10,000 taels. The daily income is over 10,000 yuan. Those jonin, who worked hard for half a month on the task, are almost the same price. Suddenly, Yi Yu had the urge to sell detonating charms without being a ninja. He knew that someone would purchase 600 billion detonating charms in the future. 600 billion, how much is it worth? Gee, I really feel for the guy who has been working so hard to earn the bounty. When he arrived at the ninja shop, Might Guy put his hands on the back of his head and watched Yi Yu walk in, but he did not follow him. Within a moment, Yi Yu walked out of the ninja tool shop. What is this? Seeing Yi Yu coming out with a bag of things in his hand, Might Guy looked curious. Clay. Yi Yu took out a piece of white clay and showed it to Might Guy. Why did you buy this? Might Guy is puzzled. Can I tell you, I am improving my proficiency in making figures. Although Yi Yu was a little reluctant to do this mission. But the task has been assigned, and he has no choice but to bite the bullet and go for it. However, on the way to the mission, he can still brush up on his proficiency in making figures. Deidara can make lifelike birds, spiders, and centipedes with one hand. Yi Yu, who has a proficiency system, can never be worse than Deidara in terms of figurines. Exercise hand flexibility. Yi Yu made a random excuse. He knew that Might Guy was just curious and would never ask any more questions. Sure enough, Might Guy believed Yi Yu's explanation 100%. And when he heard the word exercise, his eyes lit up. Give me some too, I'll work out too. Well, seeing the enthusiastic look on Might Guy's face, Yi Yu suddenly felt his conscience aching. But he soon put the matter behind him. In order to get the ability to make figures appear on the system panel as soon as possible, he started with the simplest large-scale figures as soon as he got started. Figures like spiders and birds were impossible to get started with at Yi Yu's current level. Only after you gain proficiency can you start making those complicated clay figures. Forget it, this workout isn't for me. Might Guy played with the clay for a while and found it boring. He returned the clay to Yi Yu and asked expectantly, Yi Yu, I have adapted to weight-bearing training for my legs. Do you have anything better? How to train? Yes, gravity training, Yi Yu replied casually. Gravity training, how to do it? Might Guy's eyes lit up. How to do it? Of course it's heavy manufacturing. Yi Yu was silent. This world has not yet developed the technology to create gravity. However, the ability to increase gravity does exist. For example, the gravity space in Otsutsuki Kagaya Ten no Yu. Exercise in that space to ensure great results. Another example is Tsuchikage's earth style. Weighted rock technique can increase the gravity of an object. Thinking of this, Yi Yu's thoughts drifted to Iwagakure. Whether it's the weighted rock technique, or the light heavy rock technique, these are all great ninjutsu. Especially the light and heavy rock technique, which allows people to fly in the air. Flying. Suddenly, Yi Yu felt that his situation was small. Not only Konoha, but also several other major countries have very good ninjutsu. Currently, Johan possesses White Zetsu's disguise technique. You can completely pretend to be technique and sneak into major ninja villages to steal, learn ninjutsu. Ding! Congratulations to host for successfully making a figure, the proficiency of making figures +1. Ding! Congratulations to host for successfully making a figure, the proficiency of making figures +1. Whenever Yi Yu made a clay doll out of the clay in his hand, the system's mechanical beep would sound in his mind. After the prompt sounds, he will mash the clay doll in his hand into a ball and make it again. Just during the journey from the ninja shop to the school, Yi Yu completed the making of clay dolls 5 times, and also gained 5 points of proficiency. Although the appearance of this clay doll is still very abstract, it cannot be compared with Deidara's clay doll. But this is just the beginning. As he gains proficiency, the dolls Yi Yu makes will naturally become more artistic. Making figures is much easier to obtain than making detonating charms. Making the detonating talisman requires precise control of the chakra and sealing the fire attribute chakra into the sealing paper. This is why it took Yi Yu Balgan a week to reach full proficiency in making detonating talismans. In comparison, making figures is much easier. Not only does the whole process not require the consumption of chakra, but the raw materials can also be used repeatedly. Yi Yu is confident that he can reach the full level of making figures tomorrow. As for the proficiency of explosion style, it seems to be easy to master. All you need to do is find a place where no one is around, use multiple shadow clone techniques, and continue to explode. Thinking of this, Yi Yu discovered that this mission out of the village had no impact on his proficiency in explosion style. At this moment, Yi Yu's heart suddenly became clear. Guy, when I learn the super heavy rock technique, I will definitely help you train harder. Yi Yu put his palm on Might Guy's body and said in a relaxed tone. Good. Although Might Guy didn't know why Yi Yu's mood suddenly improved, he still grinned very happily, showing his shining white teeth. While talking, the two of them had arrived at the Konoha Academy mission area. You are finally here. Just as Yi Yu and Might Guy came in, Shiranui Genma walked over, looking like he had been waiting for a long time. Genma Shiranui at this time had exactly the same personality as Genma Shiranui when he grew up, with a lazy look. However, there was no straw-like Senbon needle in his mouth. I went to a ninja shop on the way. How was it? Do you know what the mission is? Yi Yu explained briefly, and then asked Shiranui Genma. It's a simple protection mission. The location is the country of grass. Just meet at the entrance of the village tomorrow morning. Shiranui Genma said in a lazy tone. The country of grass. Hearing this place name, Yi Yu's mind began to spin. He was recalling the map of the ninja world. Soon, he remembered the location of Grass Country, the junction of Rain Shinobi Village, Rock Country, and Fire Country. I don't know how far it is from the mountain cemetery where Uchiha Madara is. Yi Yu did not forget the main purpose of his trip. He went to the mountain cemetery and tried to find a way to capture a White Zetsu clone. If the location of this mission is too far from the mountain cemetery where Uchiha Madara is located, then his capture plan will be somewhat troublesome. Alas, I still have to reach the full explosion style proficiency level as soon as possible. After maxing out his explosion style proficiency, he can create a clay bird like Deidara. Then he can fly on the clay bird, which is very convenient for aerial reconnaissance or traveling. When Yi Yu reached the full proficiency in explosion style and figurine making, it was already 5 days later. The country of grass is a mountain stream that is rarely visited by people. Dozens of Yi Yu's shadow clones stood on the cliff. Snapped. As dozens of shadow clones snapped their fingers at the same time. Boom boom boom. Deafening explosions came from the mountain stream. A large number of rocks were shattered. For a moment, flames shot into the sky and water splashed everywhere. At the same time, in Yi Yu's mind, the mechanical system prompt sounded as expected. Ding, congratulations on host explosion style proficiency +1. Ding, congratulations on host explosion style proficiency +1. Deidara will yell loudly when detonating the explosive clay. In order to distinguish Deidara, Yi Yu used the snap of his fingers to activate the explosion. In fact, whether it is Deidara's drink or Yi Yu's snapping of fingers, it is optional. The most important thing is the gesture of raising 2 fingers to the sky before drinking or snapping your fingers. That gesture was the seal that triggered the explosion. Deidara didn't know what he was thinking, he wanted to shout when it exploded. Anyway, Yi Yu snapped his fingers simply because he felt that this action, coupled with the shocking explosion, looked more handsome. Snapped. Boom boom boom. Another round of explosions started, and finally the system notification sound he wanted to hear sounded in Yi Yu's mind. Ding, congratulations on reaching the full level of host explosion style proficiency. Explosion style is automatically upgraded to explosion style. Hearing this prompt, Yi Yu was happy at first, and then froze. Explosion style upgraded to explosion. What's the meaning? Soon, Yi Yu understood that explosion style still needed to be activated. And to explode, there is no need to form a seal, just a thought is enough. This is more advanced than first Hokage, where you clap your hands and shout whatever you want. Because Yi Yu didn't even need to clap his hands. Direct thoughts detonate. This is a bit like the method of Sage of 6 Paths. There is no need to form seals to perform ninjutsu. Knowing the ability he had just gained, Yi Yu was surprised and happy. Forget it, no matter what, let's try to control the clay bird to fly first. Yi Yu suppressed the surprise in his heart and hurriedly used his full-level figurine-making ability to create a lifelike clay bird. Yi Yu threw the clay bird in his hand into the air, following his thoughts. Bang! A lot of white smoke was produced where the clay birds were. Immediately afterwards, a giant clay bird that was dozens of times larger fluttered out from the white smoke. Haha, I can finally fly. Seeing that the clay bird successfully completed its flight, Yi Yu was overjoyed. He jumped up and jumped off the cliff. Before Yi Yu's body began to fall, the giant clay bird that rushed out of the white smoke just flew under him and caught his body. Let's go to the mountain cemetery. After Yi Yu flew around in the sky, he directly controlled the clay bird and flew towards the mountain cemetery where Uchiha Madara was. The protection mission of Yi Yu, Might Guy, and Shiranui Genma is coming to an end, and they can pack their bags and return to Konoha later. Yi Yu plans to use this period of time to complete the task of capturing a white Zetsu clone. Above the vast sky, a giant white bird soars into the sky. Yi Yu stood on the back of the white giant bird and looked down at the earth. After half a day of traveling, Yi Yu had already crossed the country of grass and the country of Taki and arrived at the country of frost. As far as the eye could see, below was a vast plain of exposed hills and woods. Almost there, Yi Yu remembers that the hill cemetery where Uchiha Madara is located at the northernmost point of the frost country. Although he didn't know the exact location, but he knew that there were many skeletons of huge creatures around the hill cemetery. At this moment, Yi Yu, who was standing on the back of the giant clay bird, could clearly see that there were scattered huge animal skeletons on the ground in the distance. White Zetsu possesses extremely strong sensory abilities. It's almost impossible to approach quietly. It's better to go directly. However, just to be on the safe side. While speaking, Yi Yu put his hand into his ninja tool bag and grabbed a handful of clay. As Yi Yu's hands continued to flatten and round, clay spiders the size of fingernails were created. Immediately afterwards, Yi Yu threw his hands, and a large number of clay spiders fell towards the plain below. Bang bang bang. Under the control of Yi Yu's thoughts, clay spiders jumped out of the white smoke, landed safely on the ground, and finally disappeared into the woods. After doing this, Yi Yu formed a seal with his hands. Multiple shadow clone technique. Bang bang bang. After 3 streaks of white smoke, 3 shadow clone appeared behind Yi Yu. Immediately afterwards, the figures and appearances of these 3 shadow clones began to change at a speed visible to the naked eye. Pretend technique. However, In just a few breaths, the three shadow clone who were exactly the same as Yi Yu turned into different characters. These three people are the three grass ninjas that Yi Yu had previously contacted in the country of grass. Now I just use the disguise technique to look like them. Since he couldn't hide from the White Zetsu's perception, Yi Yu simply came to alert them. Mountain Cemetery. In the dim underground cave, a ferocious-looking and huge demon statue stood quietly. A white tube extends from one of the tentacles on the golem's head. Looking down along the white tube, I saw a figure sitting motionless on the stone bed under the demon statue. This figure has pale hair and a withered face, as if his life is about to expire. This person is none other than Uchiha Madara, who has lived from the time of Sengoku to the present. Originally, Uchiha Madara's life was over, but he relied on the vitality provided by Geto statue to survive until now. Boom boom boom. Uchiha Madara, who was sleeping, was suddenly awakened by a violent explosion. He slowly opened his slack eyelids. One eye was blocked by the tip of the hair, while the other eye glowed with a faint red light. This place hasn't been this lively for a long time. What happened outside? Although the life of Uchiha Madara is gone, her voice and tone are still full of majesty. There was originally only one person in the huge cave, Uchiha Madara. Not long after Uchiha Madara's voice sounded, half a head suddenly popped up from one wall of the cave. This is White Zetsu's head. It's three grass ninjas who are chasing a kid from Konoha. Konoha. Upon hearing this long-lost name, Uchiha Madara's expression did not change. Boom boom boom. Suddenly, the explosion sounded again, and it was closer. Those four people are heading this way. White Zetsu's voice also sounded at the right time. You should handle such a small matter by yourselves. A pair of Uchiha Madara's Rinnegan has been given away. He is still a little short of his final plan. His time was running out. He didn't want to waste precious time on such a trivial matter. After giving the instructions to White Zetsu, Uchiha Madara closed her eyes again. Learn. White Zetsu responded softly, and the half of his head that was exposed from the wall retracted. At the same time, in the forest not far from the hill cemetery. Wearing the Konoha shinobi forehead protector, Yi Yu keeps jumping in the woods. Behind him, three grass ninjas chased him desperately. As they chased, they threw kunai detonating talismans forward. Boom boom boom. As the kunai detonating talisman hits the tree trunk, a huge explosion will sound in the air. The explosion that Uchiha Madara heard was caused by the explosion of the kunai detonator, plus the explosion of the clay spider thrown by Yi Yu before. Even if Uchiha Madara could sleep again, he should have been awakened by the continuous bombardment of so many detonating symbols. It's almost time for the White Zetsu to appear. Yi Yu jumped and thought secretly in his heart. Suddenly, a white figure drilled out of the trunk of a big tree in front of Yi Yu, blocking his way. Hello, this road is blocked. Immediately afterwards, White Zetsu emerged one after another from the surrounding tree trunks. Finally, White Zetsu. Seeing White Zetsu appear, Yi Yu was not surprised but happy. Ordinary White Zetsu's single-target combat effectiveness is not strong. What makes them difficult to deal with is their ability to devour other people's chakra for spore reproduction. What Yi Yu is currently worried about is the special existence among White Zetsu, a Fae. In the original drama, a Fae, who wrapped Captain Yamato, blocked the five shadows who came to support him with his own strength. Yi Yu just wants to catch a White Zetsu and return to Konoha to trade with Orochimaru, and does not want to fight Fae now. Besides, he didn't want to have close contact with White Zetsu. Once the spores are parasitized by White Zetsu, it will be quite troublesome. Quick victory. Yi Yu glanced at the White Zetsu, with chakra attached to the soles of his feet. His body turned into a black shadow, and ran up vertically along the trunk of the big tree next to him. Want to run? White Zetsu, who was directly in front of Yi Yu, saw his prey preparing to escape. He smiled jokingly and his body instantly merged into the big tree below him. The next second, when White Zetsu appeared again, he was already on the top of the tree where Yi Yu was. Seeing Yi Yu running along the tree trunk, White Zetsu killed him directly. Call out. However, just when White Zetsu raised his arm and was about to take action, a giant white bird suddenly jumped out and swallowed White Zetsu in one gulp. Finish and call it a day. If the forest is not conducive to the flight of the giant clay bird, why would I bother to attract you to the top of the tree? Looking at White Zetsu struggling in the giant clay bird's mouth, Yu said calmly. While Yu captured White Zetsu, the other White Zetsu also killed the 3 grass ninja behind them. These 3 shadow clone transformed grass ninjas originally just lured White Zetsu out to deceive others. Now that the purpose has been achieved, there is no need to exist. Art is self-destruction. The bodies of the 3 shadow clones suddenly began to expand. The chakra in their bodies also converges crazily towards the center. Run quickly, these 3 guys are going to blow themselves up. The White Zetsu who were rushing forward a second ago suddenly changed their expressions after sensing the crazy gathering of chakra in the bodies of the 3 grass ninjas. They really couldn't figure it out. They didn't even start the fight and didn't know who would win. How could they self-destruct in the first place? Boom. Although the power generated by Shadow Clone's self-destruction is not comparable to Deidara's Patrick Star, it is much more powerful than the detonating talisman or clay spider. Accompanied by a series of horrifying explosions, a powerful shock wave, mixed with terrifying flames, instantly swallowed up everything around it. The White Zetsu just turned around and before they could escape far, their bodies were already affected by the explosion. Not only the White Zetsu, but also the surrounding trees were destroyed. Suddenly smoke and dust were everywhere, and flames shot into the sky. Standing at the top of the big tree, Yu allowed the branches under him to sway left and right due to the shock wave. He looked at the horrific explosion, and then set his sights in the direction of the mountain cemetery where Uchiha Madara was. Tisk, no wonder Deidara likes explosions. The power of this explosion is really exciting. If I were to blow up a big star here, I don't know if I could kill Uchiha Madara. Yu suddenly thought so. But soon, he shook his head and abandoned this meaningless idea. Let's not forget that Uchiha Madara can open Susanoo without eyes. The current Uchiha Madara has a Sharingan dug up from nowhere. God knows what other cards he has. With Yuyu's current strength, being targeted by Uchiha Madara would be a send-off. In 2 years' time, when I've completed my Sage Mode, Sharingan and other proficiency levels, I'll come and see you remove the oxygen tube. Yu made a new giant clay bird, then jumped up and landed on the back of the giant clay bird. Then, together with the giant clay bird that swallowed a White Zetsu, they headed towards the country of fire. Fly in the direction. A White Zetsu with half a face and the other half as if it had been run over by a truck glanced at the direction Yu left, and then sank into the ground. Soon, this White Zetsu came to Uchiha Madara under the golem. Madara-sama, 3 grass ninjas blew themselves up, and that Konoha brat escaped, and he even took one of my clones with him. Although Uchiha Madara had been preparing to sleep, there were explosions outside, and there was also a huge explosion, so he naturally did not fall asleep. Now hearing White Zetsu's report, Uchiha Madara slowly opened his eyes again. A kid from Konoha village was chased by 3 grass ninjas and accidentally came to this inaccessible mountain cemetery. The White Zetsu went to deal with it, and 3 Kusanagi blew themselves up, killing the White Zetsu. The kid from Konoha village left smoothly and captured a White Zetsu clone. Uchiha Madara thought for a moment and knew there was something wrong with this matter. If Uchiha Madara was still young, he would have curled up his lips and said, "What a clumsy trick." But Uchiha Madara, who was exhausted, had no intention of caring about these trivial matters. Pay attention to this kid from Konoha. After Uchiha Madara ordered White Zetsu, she closed her eyes again. Yohane, who was thinking about how to meet Orochimaru when he returned to Konoha, naturally didn't know that he was already being noticed by Uchiha Madara. Yuyu's deal with Orochimaru is shady, so naturally the White Zetsu he captured cannot be exposed to the public. The entire Konoha village is enveloped by a huge spherical barrier. He wanted to secretly send White Zetsu into Konoha village, but he couldn't do it. In desperation, Yu had to create a clone and imprison White Zetsu in the forest outside Konoha village. At this time, Yu can't help but envy Uchiha Obito's Kamui. Kamui is not only great at fighting, and it also comes with its own space. If Yu had this ability, he could just throw the captured White Zetsu into the space and then swagger into the village. There would be no need to go through so much trouble now. Together with Might Guy and Shiranui Genma, after handing over the mission for this trip, Yu was ready to go find Orochimaru. What are you looking for Orochimaru-sensei for? During this period, Orochimaru not only held the title of disciple of the third Hokage, but was also one of the Sannin who was famous in the ninja world. His status in Konoha is quite high, and most ninjas will respectfully call him Orochimaru-sama. Right now, the little purple-haired Lolita in front of Yu who calls Orochimaru her teacher is none other than Orochimaru's direct disciple, Mitarashi Anko. Yu and Mitarashi Anko are classmates and are considered familiar to each other. In order to be able to see Orochimaru, he came directly to Mitarashi Anko for help. I got a palm by chance. I think this palm is very strange. I want Orochimaru-sensei to study it. Yu raised the bag containing one of White Zetsu's palms and spoke truthfully. White Zetsu. No, this palm was cut off by you. Okay then, come with me. Mitarashi Anko didn't think much and directly led Yu to find Orochimaru. Ms. Orochimaru, you should still be in the laboratory at this time. Mr. Orochimaru, ordinary people are not allowed to enter his laboratory. Please wait for me outside the laboratory for a while. Orochimaru-sensei, Mitarashi Anko said, Teacher Orochimaru. It was obvious that at this time, she still admired Orochimaru. Yu did not interrupt Mitarashi Anko's thoughts and followed him all the way. Soon, Yu and Mitarashi Anko came to the laboratory in Konoha village. After First Hokage's death, Konoha began research on First Hokage's cells. Orochimaru is one of them. Therefore, in addition to Orochimaru's private laboratory, he also has a formal laboratory in Konoha. Yu, I'll go in first, please wait for me. After Mitarashi Anko explained, he ran into the laboratory in a hurry. A few minutes later, led by Mitarashi Anko, Yu met Orochimaru. I saw Orochimaru at this time, wearing Konoha's traditional ninja uniform. There was also a test tube filled with purple liquid in his hand. What do you want from me? Orochimaru seemed to be easy to talk to. He just glanced at Yu who walked in with Mitarashi Anko, and then continued to play with the test tubes, while studying, and asked casually. Mitarashi Anko repeated Yohane's words to Orochimaru. But Orochimaru didn't believe it at all. Yu came to him just to give him a palm to study. So he directly asked Yu what his purpose was. Yu did not immediately answer Orochimaru's question, but took out the palm of White Zetsu and handed it to Orochimaru. Teacher Orochimaru, look at this palm, does it look strange? Looking at the White Zetsu palm handed over by Yu, Orochimaru immediately noticed the problem with this palm. He has been studying First Hokage's cells over the years. For First Hokage cells, very sensitive. He could tell at a glance that there were cells from the First Hokage in White Zetsu's palm. In the Battle of the Valley of the End, Uchiha Madara bit the First Hokage before being defeated. After Uchiha Madara was resurrected by Izanagi set in advance, he spit out the First Hokage meat in his mouth. He then sewed a piece of First Hokage flesh onto his chest, gaining the ability of First Hokage wood style, and unlocked the Rinnegan. On the other hand, he used the Geto statue to cultivate White Zetsu. The White Zetsu captured by Yohane was one of them. Therefore, the White Zetsu palm that Yu took out naturally contains First Hokage cells. Orochimaru took the White Zetsu palm handed over by Yu and immediately began to study it. The more he studied, the more surprised he was. Because he found that this palm was extremely suitable for First Hokage's cells. You know, over the years, he has done countless studies on First Hokage cells. Most of them will reject First Hokage cells. Some life forms will even die suddenly. But right now, this palm has no rejection reaction at all against the First Hokage cells. He even suspected that the owner of this palm knew First Hokage's wood style. Of course, this is just suspicion. Whether it really knows wood style requires more detailed research. Where did you get this palm? As expected, Orochimaru became very interested in White Zetsu's palm. After he studied White Zetsu's palm for a while, he looked up at Yu and asked aloud. He wanted to know if there were any other limbs where Yu found this palm. If possible, he would also like to find a living person to study. Actually, I cut off this palm from the arm of a white guy. He wanted to kill me, and now I'm locking him up. Yu told the truth again. It's just that Orochimaru is not as innocent as Mitarashi Anko. He instantly heard the meaning behind Yi Yu's words. He knew that Yi Yu must have some purpose in finding him, and this palm was a tool to attract his attention, and the owner of this palm was his bargaining chip. Orochimaru is very interested in White Zetsu, and also has a slight interest in Yohane. He wanted to see what Yi Yu's purpose was in doing these things. Haha, what an interesting guy. Tell me, what do you want from me? Orochimaru looked at Yi Yu and asked the previous question again. Indeed, I need your help with something, Orochimaru-sensei. But let's wait until you see the white guy. That white guy can't be brought into the village, so I put you outside the village. Yi Yu told the place where White Zetsu was imprisoned. If it were an ordinary ninja, it would be very troublesome to leave the village without a mission. But Orochimaru is no ordinary ninja. He is a disciple of the third Hokage and a Sannin who is famous in the ninja world. It was very easy for him to leave the village. Like Jiraiya, he stayed in Rain Shinobi village for several years and never returned to the village. After Yohane informed White Zetsu of his location, Orochimaru left Konoha that night. He wasn't worried about any conspiracy. He is very confident in his own strength. Boo-hoo-hoo. After running for more than 10 minutes in the forest outside Konoha village, Orochimaru arrived at the place Yi Yu mentioned. With the bright moonlight in the sky, Orochimaru could clearly see a huge white strange bird in the open space ahead. And on the back of the strange bird stands a human figure. Looking at the figure, Orochimaru's narrow eyes narrowed slightly. However, he did not stop and walked straight out of the forest. Orochimaru-sensei, you are finally here. The figure standing on the back of the giant clay bird is naturally Yi Yu's shadow clone. When he saw Orochimaru approaching, he looked like he had been waiting for a long time. Orochimaru looked at Yi Yu's shadow clone and his expression changed slightly. Because he couldn't tell whether the Yi Yu in front of him was his true body or a clone. With his current strength and vision, ordinary clones cannot hide in front of him. In the original drama, Orochimaru saw through Sai's clone at a glance. At this moment, Orochimaru knew that this ninja, who was similar to his own apprentice, was not simple. After being slightly surprised, Orochimaru put the incident behind him. He came here this time for White Zetsu. Before Orochimaru could speak, Shadow Clone Yi Yu had already manipulated the giant clay bird to open its mouth and release the unconscious White Zetsu. Little guy, can you tell me your purpose now? Orochimaru glanced at White Zetsu and found that it was indeed the owner of the palm during the day. He suppressed his desire for research and looked at Yi Yu, standing on the back of the giant clay bird and asked. I want Flying Thunder God, Spiritualization Technique, Impure World Reincarnation. Yi Yu didn't show off, and directly revealed his true purpose. When he heard that Yi Yu wanted Flying Thunder God and Spiritualization Technique, the expression on Orochimaru's face did not change at all. After all, the name of Flying Thunder God is resounding throughout the ninja world, and it is understandable that Yi Yu wants to learn it. What's more, there is now a ninja who knows Flying Thunder God in Konoha village. Although no one could use the spiritualization technique, the previous ninja who could use the spiritualization technique died in the Second Ninja War. The name of this ninjutsu is equally loud. However, when I heard Yi Yu say the name Impure World Reincarnation, Orochimaru's narrow eyes changed instantly. At this moment, Orochimaru looked like a lion majesty, exuding a dangerous aura. Different from Flying Thunder God and Spiritualization Technique. Not long after Impure World Reincarnation was researched by the second Hokage, it was listed as a forbidden technique by the first Hokage and thus sealed. The second Hokage has been dead for many years. At present, only the older generation of ninjas in the village know the ninjutsu Impure World Reincarnation. And now, a 10-year-old ninja not only said the name Impure World Reincarnation. I have to get him reanimation jutsu myself. This is clearly saying, I know you can get this forbidden technique. Where did you hear about this ninjutsu? Orochimaru quickly calmed down. He looked at Yi Yu with interest, stretched out his long tongue and licked his lips, and asked with a smile on his face. It's just that the smile looks a little bit penetrating. Although Orochimaru was very interested in the gift Yi Yu gave him, which made him somewhat fond of Yi Yu. But the premise is that Yi Yu can't cause him any trouble. Over the years, he has been studying the mysteries of life. Naturally, this process will use living people for human testing. And this experiment is not allowed by Konoha. Once Konoha finds out, he will be liquidated. By then, he had to leave Konoha. However, his experiment is not finished yet. Konoha has many precious research materials, and he hasn't finished reading them yet. He didn't want to be exposed so soon. After the simple conversation just now, Orochimaru had already guessed that Yu might know something. Although it is only possible. But even if there is only 1% chance, Yu is still a hidden danger. He wanted to eliminate this hidden danger before it broke out. However, he was not sure if there was anyone else around Yu who also knew about this matter. Therefore, he wanted to ask clearly and then deal with it together. I found out by accident. Yu naturally felt Orochimaru's murderous intention, but he didn't care. Originally, he came to trade with Orochimaru after he became stronger, but he was just worried that Orochimaru would take advantage of him. But what he didn't expect was that Orochimaru was worried that he would expose his secret and wanted to kill him. He knew that the battle between him and Orochimaru was unavoidable. Yeah, looks like I have to find the answer myself. Orochimaru smiled lightly. He was going to catch Yu and use his own method to confirm whether there was anyone else around Yu who knew his secret. Latent Shadow Snake Hand. As he spoke, one of Orochimaru's arms turned into a python, sweeping towards the direction of Yu at an astonishing speed. Call out. In just a blink of an eye, the python was already in front of Yu and was about to wrap around Yu's body. However, at this moment, Yu in front of the python suddenly disappeared. Body Flicker Technique. Orochimaru could tell at a glance that Yu had used the body flicker technique and left the place in an instant. Soon, Orochimaru set his sights on another place. Sure enough, Yu was seen arriving at that place instantly from the back of the giant clay bird. However, just when Orochimaru was about to activate the hidden shadow snake hand again, Yu moved and transformed into two people. With another move, the two people turned into 4 people, and the 4 people turned into 8 people. This is the Phantom Body Flicker technique upgraded from the full-level Body Flicker technique. Clone. No, this is not a clone, it's just a phantom. Seeing a large number of Yu rushing over, Orochimaru immediately used the latent shadow multi-snake hand to clear the field. But soon, he discovered that something was wrong with these Yu. I saw that after the python hit the Yu that rushed over, not only did it not feel like it was hit, but the Yu did not dissipate. Isn't it a phantom that won't disappear even if it's hit? It's really interesting. Orochimaru saw that his attack could not be effective against these phantoms. For a moment, he stopped attacking, not wanting to waste chakra on such a useless attack. But his eyes kept scanning Yu's phantom. He was observing the weakness of Yu's ninjutsu. He knew that one of these phantoms must be real. Just solve that entity. Other phantoms are nothing to worry about. Orochimaru originally thought so. But soon, Orochimaru realized that he was wrong. A large number of Yohan's phantoms rushed left and right, constantly approaching Orochimaru. Soon, a phantom of Yu rushed in front of Orochimaru, and stabbed Orochimaru with the kunai in his hand. Orochimaru faced the attack and instinctively blocked it. Ding! Suddenly, the sound of weapons clashing was heard in the air. As the entity the first to attack, Orochimaru locked his eyes on Yu, who was blocking the attack from him. But soon, another Yu appeared behind Orochimaru, and also stabbed him with a kunai. Originally Orochimaru didn't want to pay attention to Yu who was sneaking up from behind. After all, what he had in front of him was a physical entity. That Yu behind must be a phantom. But when Yohane's kunai was about to stab Orochimaru, Orochimaru felt danger. What? This is also an entity. His expression changed, and he kicked back like a reflex, directly hitting Yu behind him. But in the imagination, the scene of Yu being kicked away did not happen. I saw Orochimaru's kick passing directly through Yu's body. It was as if Yu's body didn't exist. PFF'd. Before Orochimaru had time to think about it, another phantom of Yu rushed over and stabbed Orochimaru directly with a kunai. The next second, Orochimaru's body turned into a puddle of mud and collapsed. Earth Substitute. I knew Sannin wasn't that easy to defeat. Yu glanced at the puddle of mud on the ground, and then his eyes fell on Orochimaru, who emerged from the ground, and said in a leisurely tone. "Boy, you are amazing. Those phantoms just now were actually able to attack like entities." After what happened just now, Orochimaru still didn't know that these phantoms of Yu would not disappear if they were hit, but they could also attack like entities. And this is where phantom body flicker technique really shines. In the original drama, Uchiha Shisui became known as Shisui in the ninja world because of the phantom body flicker technique. While speaking, Orochimaru raised his head and opened his mouth, and a sword hilt slowly emerged from his mouth. Seeing that Orochimaru was about to use the grass pheasant sword for real, Yu hurriedly stopped. He also needs to obtain the Flying Thunder God and spiritualization technique from Orochimaru's hands. For this reason, he worked hard for several days to max out the explosion style and even made a special trip to the mountain cemetery to catch a white Zetsu. He didn't want to waste all his efforts. "Orochimaru, let's stop here. If you and I continue to fight, we will only attract Konoha's attention. I have no interest in your private research, and I won't tell others either. I just need some forbidden technique from second Hokage." Yu persuaded. In fact, Yu still had one sentence left unsaid. Not only does he want those forbidden techniques from second Hokage, he also wanted Orochimaru's method of making and controlling the pheasant sword. The pheasant sword is not only hard in texture, it can be as hard as third Hokage's King Kong Rui stick. Furthermore, Orochimaru can control his pheasant sword from afar. In the original drama, when Orochimaru's body was locked by Ghoul Seal, he manipulated the grass pheasant sword that fell on the ground from the air, and penetrated the third Hokage's body with one sword. Although Orochimaru's ability to fly swords through the air is not very good. But if Yu obtains this ability, it will be a truly magical skill. You must know that ordinary transformation techniques can be transformed into disguised techniques by him. As for Orochimaru's ability to fly a sword through the air, Yu is confident that he can turn it into a sword-controlling skill that is unique to the world of immortals. Yu could already imagine the scene of the flying swordsmanship at full level, thousands of miles away, killing the owl with one sword. One word: handsome. However, Orochimaru still has strong hostility towards Yohane. At this time, Yu asked Orochimaru for the production and operation methods of the grass pheasant sword, which would only strengthen Orochimaru's hostility. Therefore, the production and control methods of the grass pheasant sword can only be discussed after he and Orochimaru have a certain basis for cooperation. Orochimaru is not a disobedient person. Right now, he and Yu are not far from Konoha village. If their fighting was any louder, they would definitely alert the guards of Konoha village. In addition, he is not sure that he can crack Yu's phantom body flicker technique in a short time. After some weighing, Orochimaru was shaken. "Although I know that you didn't mean anything just now. But I also didn't use all my power." Seeing that Orochimaru was about to be convinced by him, Yu hurriedly continued to persuade him. In order to enhance his persuasiveness, Yu also snapped his fingers at Orochimaru. Snapped. Snapping his fingers, a series of explosions suddenly came from the forest behind Yu. Boom boom boom. These explosions were the clay spiders that Yu placed around to be on guard during the day. In addition, Yu controlled these clay spiders to explode without his thoughts. In addition to simply feeling cool, he also told Orochimaru, "My attack method can really attract the Konoha shinobi." Sure enough, after this series of explosions, Orochimaru gave up and continued with Yu. He accepted Yu's proposal. However, the grass pheasant sword has already been revealed, so it cannot be inserted back. Orochimaru still took out the grasshopper sword from his mouth, stretched out his long tongue, and licked the blade of the grasshopper sword. At this moment, a picture appeared in Yu's mind involuntarily. "This dagger of mine is covered in poison, lick it. Boy, I'll give you what you want." But such an experimental subject can only be replaced by a forbidden technique. Orochimaru looked at White Zetsu and said with a smile on his face. Yu had already expected Orochimaru's request. He replied calmly, "This guy can swallow other people's chakra to reproduce." Yu didn't explain too much. He believed Orochimaru understood what he meant. Haha, what an interesting experimental subject. Orochimaru actually smiled this time. Yu knew that Orochimaru agreed to his request and gave him the second Hokage forbidden technique he wanted. Then, I look forward to working with you again next time. After Yu said something, there was a bang, and his figure turned into a line of white smoke and disappeared. At the same time, the giant clay bird that originally imprisoned White Zetsu also dissipated. Seeing Yu's figure disappear, Orochimaru's expression changed. At this moment, he didn't know that the person he had been fighting just now was just a shadow clone. Orochimaru stuck out his tongue and licked his cheek, and then a smile appeared on his face that was becoming more and more interested in Yu. Orochimaru moved quite quickly. Early the next morning, when Yu was practicing chakra on the mountain, a python appeared in front of him. When the python saw Yu, it spit out a thick scroll from its mouth. As expected of Orochimaru, he uses a snake as a courier. After the python spit out the scroll and left, Yu walked over and picked it up. He didn't care about the snake liquid stained on the scroll and opened the scroll directly. At the beginning of the scroll, the Flying Thunder God technique that Yu had been thinking about was recorded. Flying Thunder God, finally got it. Yu was overjoyed when he saw the Flying Thunder God technique on the scroll. He couldn't wait to start watching Flying Thunder God's training methods. But after seeing the first sentence of the Flying Thunder God technique practice method, Yu's good mood disappeared instantly, and he directly cursed, "Blanche. Although this first sentence is nothing, if you want to practice this skill, you must first go to the palace. But the effect is similar. I saw it clearly written on it. It cannot be repaired unless it has a strong perception system. Yes, if you want to practice the Flying Thunder God technique, you must have strong sensory abilities." Before time travel, when Yu was watching the Hokage ninjas, he just felt that the Flying Thunder God technique was too strong. The fourth Hokage who used the Flying Thunder God technique was too handsome, and the second Hokage who created the Flying Thunder God technique was too awesome. He had never thought about why the Flying Thunder God technique clearly did not belong to the forbidden technique, and why in Konoha, except for the second Hokage, only the fourth Hokage had fully learned it. The three of them, Shiranui Genma, Tamaki Rado, and Iwahi, can only use the Flying Thunder God formation. There are so many talented ninjas in Konoha, why don't they learn the Flying Thunder God technique? Now, Yu knew the reason. Because the conditions for learning the Flying Thunder God technique are too harsh. The mere need for strong perceptual abilities blocks most practitioners. After all, perception ninjas are too rare. And Yu has no perception. Of course, Yu cursed Joe, not because he did not meet the conditions for practicing the Flying Thunder God technique. After all, he did. If you don't have the ability to perceive, just use the spiritualization technique to enter the body of the ninja of the perception system and release your perception system proficiency. The reason why he cursed Joe. It's because he has already thought about the explosive Flying Thunder God technique in the next few days. But what I didn't expect was that I couldn't practice right now. It's like you have taken off your pants and everything is ready, but the other party suddenly needs to go out for something. Alas, it seems that I have to learn the spiritualization technique first, and then gain the ability to perceive before I can learn the Flying Thunder God technique. Yu sighed. Now looking at the forbidden technique scroll he was thinking about in his hand, he didn't think it was very fragrant anymore. Fortunately, Yu's sadness went away as quickly as it came. He quickly put the matter aside and began searching for the spiritualization technique on the scroll. The spiritualization technique is the fourth technique recorded on the scroll. After browsing for a long time, Yu found it. Fortunately, there are no special conditions for learning the spiritualization technique. However, it is recorded on the scroll that it is extremely difficult to master the spiritualization technique. However, this is only true for other ninjas. Yu is not afraid of difficulties. No matter how difficult it is, I can still give you liver to the full level. Without any hesitation, Yu put away the forbidden technique scroll and began to learn the spiritualization technique. Just when Yu started learning the spiritualization technique, Orochimaru also started researching White Zetsu in his secret laboratory. See, more than 90% of first Hokage's cells are in this guy's body. How on earth was this guy created? The more Orochimaru studied, the more surprised he became. He could naturally see that White Zetsu was not a normal human being. but some kind of creation. But for a short period of time, he could not imagine what kind of existence the person who created White Zetsu was. Suddenly, Orochimaru put down the test tube in his hand and walked out of the laboratory. Walking through a dim corridor, Orochimaru came to a huge petri dish. I saw White Zetsu closing his eyes tightly and suspended tightly in the petri dish. Orochimaru observed White Zetsu for a moment, then pressed the switch next to the culture. Chi chi chi. There was a sound, and the culture fluid in the petri dish was drained instantly. Without saying a word, Orochimaru turned one of his arms into a long snake and bit White Zetsu directly. He briefly interrogated White Zetsu last night. He wanted to know who created White Zetsu and where the person who created him was. But how could White Zetsu do it? White Zetsu didn't do anything, so Orochimaru had to use his own methods to get the information he wanted. But White Zetsu's body is specially processed through Gedo statue. Orochimaru didn't get the information he wanted from White Zetsu's blood. You caught this white guy. As he spoke, the lion majesty biting White Zetsu quickly retracted and soon transformed into Orochimaru's palm. You must know something. Orochimaru's mouth opened slightly, revealing a charming smile. There is no doubt that Orochimaru is also eyeing Yu. Chapter 11. Ding, congratulations on host Lingua Technique Proficiency +1. In the forest, Yu was sitting on a rock. As his hands formed the seal of spiritual transformation technique, his body suddenly glowed with a soft white light invisible to the naked eye. The next second, Yu's soul left his body and turned into a white light and rushed towards the sky. At the same time, Yu's soul body also received a mechanical notification sound from the system. It has to be said that the proficiency of Lingua technique is really hard to come by. The spiritualization technique is not an ordinary ninjutsu. It involves the soul. Therefore, Johan cannot use multiple shadow clone to speed up the process like Gan's other ninjutsu proficiencies. Spiritualization technique can only be released by the main body. As a result, the proficiency of Gan spiritual transformation technique is dozens of times slower than other ninjutsu. For other ninjutsu, Yu could reach the full level in a few days, and the most difficult, making the detonating talisman, only took a week. As for the current Lingua technique, Yu has been struggling for 3 weeks, and the progress bar is only 35%. To reach the full level of Lingua technique, it will take Yu full strength for 6 weeks, which is nearly a month and a half. Fortunately, Yu's purpose of learning Lingua technique was just to use the spiritualization technique to manipulate the characteristics of other people's bodies, and then use other people's abilities to increase their proficiency. The spiritualization technique with 35% proficiency is enough for Yu to use. As for the full-level spiritualization technique, Yu said there was no rush and he would take his time. Okay, my proficiency in the Lingua technique is limited to this for the time being. Yu releases the spiritualization technique, and the soul returns to the body. The next step is to find a ninja who can sense, and then use the spiritualization technique to let the soul enter the person's body. Well, the best gender is female. Although it is just the soul entering someone else's body, the process of gaining proficiency may be a bit long. And it takes several days. Yu didn't want to go in and out of a man. Immediately, Yu began to recall the female ninja with sentient abilities in Hokage Ninja. Yamanaka Ino, excluded. Yamanaka Ino was not born yet at this time. Uzumaki Xiangling, excluded for the same reason as above. After eliminating a series of sentient female ninjas, Yu targeted 2 people. Uzumaki Kushina, Yuhi Hong. Like Uzumaki Xiangling and Uzumaki Nagato, Uzumaki Kushina also has very strong sensory abilities. Her sensory abilities may even exceed those of Namikaze Minato. If Yu can enter Uzumaki Kushina's body and brush her perception ability, the starting point of Yu's perception will be very high, and learning Flying Thunder God will save some time. But Yu didn't have much contact with Uzumaki Kushina. In addition, she also knew that Uzumaki Kushina had a very bad temper. What if Yu said to Uzumaki Kushina, "Can I enter your body?" May be hammered to death by Uzumaki Kushina on the spot. As for Shihi Hong, Yu is more familiar. The two were classmates. Very easy to deal with. Although Yuhi Kurenai's perception ability is much weaker than that of Uzumaki Kushina. But for Yi Yu, it's not a big problem. Yi Yu only needs to record his perceptual ability on the panel, and later he can improve his perceptual ability by brushing his proficiency in it. Comprehensive comparison. Uzumaki Kushina has strong perception and is difficult to deal with. Sunset Red, weak perception, easy to deal with. In the end, Yi Yu decided to try Yuhi Kurenai first, with Uzumaki Kushina as a backup. Kakashi, let's compete. Yi Yu came to the residential area and was about to go find Yuhi Hong when a familiar voice came to his ears. Following the sound, I saw Might Guy wearing a blue one-piece sweatshirt, standing in front of a silver-haired boy wearing a mask. The silver-haired boy wearing a mask was none other than Kakashi. Next time, I'm in a hurry. Teacher Minato asked us to meet at the entrance of the village. If we are late, that guy Obito will chatter again. Kakashi has no interest in Might Guy's competition proposal. But Might Guy is never willing to let Kakashi go. That's just right. Let's see who can run faster. With here as the starting point and the village entrance as the end point, whoever arrives first wins. Might Guy grinned, showing his white teeth, and an expression on his face, I'm smart. Kakashi rolled his eyes. Indeed, this competition will not only prevent him from being late, but will also allow him to arrive at the meeting point early. Perfectly solved the reason why Kakashi refused just now. For a moment, Kakashi couldn't find a new reason to refuse. Yi Yu, you came just in time. The three of us will compete together. Might Guy noticed Yi Yu walking over and invited him hurriedly and warmly. No, I have something to do with Hong. Yi Yu looked at Kakashi, who looked helpless, waved his hand and said. That's really a pity. Kakashi can only compete between the two of us. Might Guy looked regretful. Guy. Just when Kakashi was about to say something, Might Guy shouted loudly, get ready. Although Kakashi seems to think that there is no point in competing with Might Guy. But if there was a real competition, he didn't want to lose. Therefore, when Might Guy shouted, okay, Kakashi's body was already ready instinctively. Run, Might Guy suddenly shouted. At the same time, Might Guy had already taken one step ahead of Kakashi and ran away quickly. Kakashi's reaction was not slow and he quickly caught up. This is youth. Yi Yu looked at the backs of Kakashi and Might Guy and said with emotion. Yi Yu, it's you. Yi Yu came to Yuhi Hong's house, and the person who opened the door was a middle-aged ninja. This person is Yuhi Hong's father, Yuhi Hong. At the same time, he is also the instructor of Konoha village Chunin and Genin. Previously, when he was in the ninja school, he had taught Yi Yu and others illusion courses. Therefore, Yuhi Junhong still knows Yi Yu, her daughter's classmate and her own student. Senior True Red. Yi Yu greeted, looking for Hong. Hong is practicing in the back mountain, you can find her if you go there. After Yuhi Junhong confirmed Yi Yu's intention, she continued. Saying goodbye to Yuhi Junhong, Yi Yu went straight to the back mountain mentioned by Yuhi Junhong. It's just that when Yi Yu came to the mountain, he didn't see Yuhi Hong's figure. Not here. Yi Yu glanced around. However, the next second, a big tree suddenly rose from the ground. The thick tree trunk, like a living creature, grew crazily and swept towards Yi Yu. Wood-style ninjutsu. Yi Yu noticed this scene and used the body flicker technique as a conditioned reflex. Call out. Yi Yu's figure disappeared instantly. However, as if Yi Yu was being attacked by a ghost, he did not get out of the way and was entangled tightly by the branches and vines that swept over him. No, this is an illusion. Soon, Yi Yu realized that he was under an illusion. There is no doubt that the caster is Yuhi Kurenai he is looking for. Sure enough, Yuhi Hong's upper body emerged from the big tree, and her lower body merged with the big tree. Although Yuhi Hong was only 10 years old at this time. But with her ruby-like eyes and delicate face, she was already a perfect beauty. What the hell? It turns out to be you, Yi Yu. Yuhi Hong said with an ethereal voice. Can you undo the illusion? Yi Yu knew that the caster was Yuhi Hong, so he did not rush to break away. He looked up at Yuhi Hong, who only exposed half of his body and said. You can try to figure it out yourself. Originally, after Yuhi Hong saw that the person who fell under her illusion was Yi Yu, she was ready to break the illusion. But after hearing Yi Yu's words, her ruby-like smart eyes revealed the cunningness of a 10-year-old girl. You sure? Yi Yu raised his eyebrows and asked. Sure, With only half of her body emerging, Yuhi Hong formed a seal with her hands. Soon, her body was like the moon in the rippled water, starting from her slender waist, layer by layer began to disappear. After Yuhi Kurenai completely disappeared, Yuhi Kurenai's voice sounded again from all directions in the air. This is the illusion I've been practicing recently, called magical tree binding killing. You want to be small. But before Yuhi Hong could say the word, heart, her voice stopped abruptly. Because her illusion was broken. Not only that, Yuhi Hong discovered that her body was no longer under her control. What happened? Why can't I move? Could it be a rebound illusion? Yuhi Hong tried hard to move her body, but her legs seemed motionless beyond her control. She immediately thought of the rebound illusion. In Kurenai Yuhi's view, the only rebound genjutsu can not only break his own genjutsu in an instant, but also make him fall victim to it. This is not a rebound illusion. Soon, Yi Yu's voice sounded. But the voice sounded very strange, as if it appeared directly in Yuhi Hong's mind. Just as Yuhi Hong was about to say something, she found that she suddenly appeared in a golden world. And there was a person standing opposite her. It was Yi Yu. This is my spiritual world. The slim and graceful Yuhi Hong glanced at the golden light around her, then withdrew her gaze, looked at Yi Yu opposite, and asked tentatively. Right. While Yi Yu answered Yuhi Hong, he was also quietly looking around. Although he has been practicing spiritual transformation technique for 3 weeks. But this is the first time that my soul has entered someone else's body. And it's a woman's body. At this moment, he felt that his lower body was empty, and his upper body, well, it was not heavy at all. After all, Yuhi Kurenai is only 10 years old. Not developed yet. How did you get into me? Maybe it's because of Yi Yu's trust. After knowing that Yi Yu had entered her body, Yuhi Hong did not panic. On the contrary, she was very curious about how Yi Yu entered her body. In Yuhi Kurenai's impression, it seems that only the Yamanaka clan's Shinchanshin technique can do it. But the heart-to-heart technique is the secret technique of the Yamanaka clan, and it is not taught to people who are not members of the Yamanaka clan. As an outsider, Yi Yu had no chance to learn. Cough. Looking at the delicate little loli in front of him, he opened his big eyes and asked curiously how he entered her body. Even with Yi Yu's face, he felt a little embarrassed. Have you heard of the lingua technique? Yi Yu asked. Kurenai Yuhi put on a cute face trying to remember. Soon, she seemed to remember, and her eyes suddenly lit up. I think I heard my father mention it once. Is it a ninjutsu used by Tsunade-sama and his former lover? Yes, I just use the spiritualization technique to let my soul enter your body. Yi Yu explained simply. Although Yi Yu was hit by Yuhi Kurenai's illusion before using the spiritual technique, she didn't know exactly where Yuhi Kurenai's real body was. But the terrifying thing about spiritualization technique is that it ignores distance and targets the soul directly. After Yi Yu finished explaining, the entire golden spiritual world fell into a strange silence. Yuhi Hong just looked at Yi Yu with her big eyes open. Although Yuhi Hong didn't speak, her big eyes seemed to be saying, Yi Yu, shouldn't you get out of my body? But how could Yi Yu go out? He came to Yuhi Hong just to enter her body. Now that everyone has come in, there must be something left behind. Yi Yu pretended not to understand Yuhi Hong's eyes and continued to control Yuri Hong's body. Yi Yu, don't touch my body. Out of politeness, Yuhi Hong didn't ask Yi Yu to go out. It was better now. Yi Yu moved her body directly. Yuhi Hong could no longer remain silent and spoke directly. Don't worry, I'm just rubbing and not moving. I just want to rub your senses and make sure you don't move. Konoha Back Mountain. Yi Yu's body stood motionless, while Yi Yu's soul controlled Yuhi Hong's body, opening up the ability to perceive. With the opening of perception, Yi Yu entered a wonderful state. Although she had her eyes closed tightly, a picture appeared in her mind. What the picture showed was clusters of blue flames of different sizes. This blue flame is chakra. First, there is the flame representing the Yuhi red chakra. Not far from this flame, there was a larger flame. This is my chakra. Yi Yu carefully felt the flame representing his chakra. Then move your eyesight farther away. I saw a large number of flames floating in the distance. Yi Yu knew that these flames represented the ninjas of Konoha village. However, this was his first time using his perception ability and he had not recorded these chakras yet. Therefore, he did not know who the owners of these chakras were. It's like you enter a strange classroom and you don't know these people. Are you using my sentience? These scenes that Yi Yu perceived seemed to be transmitted into the mind of Yu Hong, the owner of the body. She looked at these pictures and asked Yi Yu, "Yes, I don't have the ability to sense myself, but now I can borrow your ability to sense chakra." Yi Yu told the truth. In order to make it easier for him to continue to enter Yu Hong's body in the future, he deliberately asked humbly, "Do you know who the masters of these chakras are?" After all, Yuhi Kurenai is only a 10-year-old girl now. Her current mentality is, "You can't do the questions, but I can. If you humbly ask me how to do this question, I will give you great satisfaction after I teach you." Some know, some don't. The chakra in your 10 o'clock direction is my father, and the chakra directly in front of you is Lord Third Hokage. Yuhi Hong enthusiastically pointed out the chakra she was familiar with to Yi Yu. This chakra belongs to Master Tsunade. Her chakra is close to Master Hokage's chakra. This means that Master Tsunade has something to do with Master Hokage. This fast-moving chakra is my father's colleague. He should be running fast. Suddenly, Yi Yu's attention was attracted by two flames. I saw that the two flames were close together. What are these two chakras doing? Yi Yu asked Yuhi Hong. Because this body is now controlled by Yi Yu. Therefore, what Yi Yu perceives, Yuhi Hong perceives. At the moment, all of Yi Yu's perceptions were focused on these two groups of flames that were close together. Therefore, the pictures in Yuhi Hong's mind are all of these two groups of flames close together. Hearing Yi Yu's question, Shihi Hong's little face turned red instantly. Although she is only 10 years old, but girls mature earlier than men and women. She naturally knew what the owners of those two chakras were doing now. It's just that she pretended not to see it. Now Yi Yu not only focused his perception on these two chakras, but also asked seriously what these two people were doing. This is like pointing at the men and women on the TV and asking the girl next to you, "What are these two people doing?" Ahem, I roughly understand. Noticing Yuhi Hong's flushed face, Yi Yu understood instantly. He coughed dryly and hurriedly turned off his perception ability. During the time when he opened his perception, in his mind, the system's mechanical notification sound kept coming. Ding, congratulations. Host experience perception proficiency +1. Ding, congratulations. Host experience perception proficiency +1. Comma. In less than 3 minutes, Yi Yu's experience perception proficiency has reached 26%. If I go on for a few more minutes, I'm afraid the proficiency of experience perception will be maxed out, and by then experience perception will be upgraded to a real perception. And Yi Yu will also gain the perception ability. Although Yi Yu wants to take advantage of this opportunity to directly maximize experience perception. But keeping the perception ability turned on consumes a lot of mental energy. He was worried that Yuhi Kurenai's body would be overwhelmed. In addition, Yuhi Hong was making a big blush. He continued to stay inside her body, feeling a little embarrassed. So, he decided to come back tomorrow. I'll be here today, and I will continue to ask you about your perception ability tomorrow. After Yi Yu said something to Yuhi Hong, he released the spiritual technique. The next second, Yi Yu's soul exited Yuhi Hong's body and returned to his own body. At the same time, Yuhi Hong also regained control of her body. She moved her hands and feet, but she felt something was strange. "See you tomorrow." Yi Yu waved to Yuri Hong, then jumped up and ran down the mountain. Yuhi Hong looked at Yi Yu's back and said nothing. Ding, congratulations on the host's experience perception proficiency reaching the full level, experience perception automatically upgraded to perception. Yi Yu, who was in Yuhi Hong's body, was overjoyed when she heard the system prompt sound in her mind. Finally gained the ability to sense. Yi Yu spent 4 days in a row to improve the proficiency of experience perception in Yuhi Hong's body. Finally, at this moment, he maxed out the experience perception proficiency and successfully gained the ability to perceive. Next, he can start learning the Flying Thunder God technique while improving his perception ability. After gaining the ability to perceive, Yi Yu did not immediately get out of Yuhi Hong's body. After all, he would stay in Yuhi Hong's body for 3 minutes every day before. If I get out of Yuhi Kurenai's body early today, Yuhi Hong may ask, why are you so fast today? Yi Yu, because Yi Yu's experience perception has been upgraded to perception ability. Therefore, the system prompt sound in Yi Yu's mind also changed too. Ding, congratulations, host perception proficiency +1. As his proficiency in perception continued to improve, Yi Yu's range of perception began to expand. Before, he and Yuhi Kurenai were standing on the back hill and could only perceive the long streets of Konoha. And now, that range is starting to move forward. However, in just 10 seconds, Yi Yu's perception radius had expanded by 1 meter. Yi Yu didn't feel anything about the expansion of his perception range. But Yuhi Hong was extremely surprised. What happened? Why has the range of perception increased? She knew only too well the extent of Yuhi Hong's perception of herself. Over the years, she has also wanted to enhance her perception. But the effect is minimal. Right now, her perception range is increasing at a speed visible to the naked eye. This surprised Yuhi Hong. Maybe it's because I entered your body and expanded your perception. Yi Yu replied seriously. At the same time, his mind was thinking rapidly. He was thinking about whether Yuhiko's perception range would be the original range or the expanded range after he exited Yuhiko's body. After all, in the original drama, Uchiha Obito entered Kakashi's spiritual world, and Kakashi obtained Uchiha Obito's double Kamui. At this moment, Yi Yu enters Yuhi Hong's body, and Yuhi Hong gains Yi Yu's perception range. Although after Uchiha Obito left Kakashi's spiritual world, Kakashi lost both Kamui. But perception ability is not limited by blood inheritance like Sharingan. In addition, Yuhi Hong originally had the ability to perceive. Yi Yu guessed that after leaving Yuhi Hong's body, Yuhi Hong's perception range should increase slightly. After all, he has expanded Yuhi Kurenai's perception range. Even if he leaves Yuhi Kurenai's body, the expanded part will only lose support and shrink a little. Moreover, Yi Yu also guessed. In the future, Yuhi Hong can expand her perception range to the current growing range through repeated practice of her perception ability. Of course, this is just Yi Yu's guess. Once the speculation is confirmed, Yi Yu can not only enhance his own perception, but also help others enhance their perception. Did you hold up too much? Yuhi Hong's little mouth opened slightly. Is it because I held it up? Let's just do an experiment. How to test? It's very simple. I'll exit your body and see if your perception range is original or increased. After saying that, Yi Yu had released the spiritual transformation technique. After Yi Yu left, Yuhi Hong, who took over her body again, couldn't wait to activate her perception. How about it? After Yuhi Hong closed her eyes for a moment, Yi Yu also asked expectantly. Soon, Yuhi Hong opened her eyes and said with a happy face, I was really made big by you. As soon as you leave my body, my range of perception becomes smaller. However, the range of perception is larger than my original range. Hearing Yuhi Hong's words, Yi Yu smiled. His suspicion was confirmed. He can really help others enhance their perception. As for why other ninjas have not discovered that this method can be used to help others enhance their perception. Don't ask, just ask. Yi Yu is worried. Okay, that's it for today, I'm going back. Yi Yu waved her hand to Yuri Hong. Just after Yi Yu turned around, Shirai Hong stopped talking. She really wanted to ask, will you come again tomorrow? In the past 3 days, when Yi Yu left, he would always say to Yuhi Hong, see you tomorrow. But for now, Yi Yu has obtained the perception ability. In the future, he can just use the perception ability to gain proficiency. There is no need to enter Yuhi Hong's body. Therefore, this time he did not say to Yuhi Hong, see you tomorrow. As a girl, Kurenai Yuhi has such a delicate mind. During these 4 days, Yi Yu entered her body every day, and she was a good teacher every time. She enjoyed the process very much. In addition, after Yi Yu entered her body, her perception ability was actually enhanced. She hoped that Yi Yu would come again. In this way, she can not only enjoy happiness, but also become stronger. However, just when Yuri Hong was struggling, Yi Yu's figure had disappeared. A month has passed since Orochimaru handed the Forbidden Technique scroll to Yi Yu. For this month, Orochimaru stopped other research projects and devoted all his energy to the research of white Zetsu. There is a perfect sample of white Zetsu. Orochimaru has made rapid progress in research on first Hokage cells. Orochimaru's secret research base. In the dark underground laboratory, besides the master Orochimaru, there were 2 other people present. Of these 2 people, one wears Konoha Anbu's exclusive mask. The other person is the leader of Anbu, Shimura Danzo. Over the years, Orochimaru's forbidden experiments have been carried out without the secret support of Shimura Danzo. Shimura Danzo supports Orochimaru's research and has his own thoughts. The dim firelight swayed in the basement. Shimura Danzo, who had a white gauze wrapped around his head, squinted one eye and looked at Orochimaru opposite, and asked in an unhappy tone, "So, you called me over, what happened? What's up?" "He, of course I have an experiment to show you." Orochimaru didn't care at all about Shimura Danzo's attitude, he smiled happily. But that smile seemed so penetrating in this dark basement. "What experiment?" Shimura Danzo asked. Orochimaru did not answer, but glanced at the Anbu member behind Shimura Danzo. Shimura Danzo understood and looked towards the Anbu members behind him. "Tuan, Lord Danzo." The Anbu member seemed to know what was going to happen next, and immediately shouted to Shimura Danzo in a frightened and pleading tone. But before he could finish his words, a lion majesty bit him on the neck. Soon, the Anbu member passed out. Orochimaru manipulated the big snake to wrap around the Anbu member's body and move it to the test stand. PFF'd. Orochimaru held a knife and directly cut off one of the Anbu member's arms. Then he installed a prepared pure white arm on the Anbu member's broken arm. The whole process only takes a few tens of seconds. Shimura Danzo on the side watched the whole process with a blank expression. When Orochimaru stopped what he was doing, Shimura Danzo looked at the pure white arm and asked, "This is it?" Orochimaru's mouth split open little by little. "First Hokage's cell-cultured arm." As soon as these words came out, Danzo, who had always been expressionless, suddenly changed his expression. "Did you succeed?" Danzo has always been very clear about the progress of Orochimaru's research on first Hokage cells. Over the years, except for a child named Tenzo who survived the transplantation of first Hokage's cells, all other experimental subjects died suddenly. 6 months ago, Orochimaru told Danzo that it would take several years to completely overcome the rejection reaction of first Hokage cells. But for now, Orochimaru has completed the research on first Hokage cells without saying a word. This was beyond Danzo's expectation. Danzo didn't know that if the original historical process was followed, Orochimaru would indeed overcome the first Hokage's cell rejection several years later. But now, there is white Zetsu provided by EU as experimental material. Orochimaru completed this research many years ahead of schedule. Logically speaking, Orochimaru completed this research, and as a collaborator, Danzo should be happy. But right now, Danzo is not only unhappy. There was even some anger in my heart. He felt that Orochimaru was completely out of his control. He knew that Orochimaru was a lion majesty ready to bite. He cooperated with Orochimaru because he thought he could control this lion majesty. But now, an accident happened. "Didn't you say it would take a few more years?" Danzo asked in a questioning tone. I got help from some guy." Orochimaru had no intention of keeping Yiyu's secret. However, he is very interested in Yiyu. Before he digs out Yiyu's secrets, he doesn't intend to completely sell Yiyu. Therefore, he only slightly revealed that someone helped him with his research on first Hokage cells. Danzo was very dissatisfied with Orochimaru's answer. But there was nothing he could do. He just squinted his eyes, took a deep look at Orochimaru, then turned and left the laboratory. Yiyu, next, let me see what secrets you are hiding." After Danzo left, the image of Yiyu immediately appeared in Orochimaru's mind. He stuck out his tongue and licked the corner of his mouth, with a charming smile on his face. This month, in addition to research, Orochimaru also took the time to investigate Yiyu's information. The information showed that Yiyu was very normal. But this was so normal that Orochimaru felt abnormal. Could a normal genin survive so many rounds in Orochimaru's hands without losing? If Yiyu knew that Orochimaru had a great interest in him because of this incident, he would definitely retort loudly, "What's wrong with me? You think I'm abnormal, that's because you've never seen two wooden people. The scene where Yi Jianan fights and everything breaks down. Ding, congratulations. Host always hit proficiency +1. Ding, congratulations. Host perception proficiency +1. Ding, congratulations. Host flying thunder god technique proficiency +1. In the woods where Yi Yu usually practiced, there was only a row of Yi Yu's shadow clone. He first threw the kunai marked with the flying thunder god technique in his hand towards the big tree in the distance. Immediately afterwards, they all activated the flying thunder god technique and teleported to the landing point of the kunai. It's these two simple steps. In the past 5 days, Yi Yu not only raised the proficiency of flying thunder god technique to 77%. And by the way, he also raised the shuriken technique to the full level, and gained the ability called 100 hits with 100 shots. This is not over yet. When using the flying thunder god technique, you need to use your perception ability to accurately locate the kunai marked with the flying thunder god technique. This resulted in Yi Yu's perception proficiency slowly rising. With the improvement of perception proficiency, Yi Yu's perception accuracy and range have been greatly improved. If accuracy is not taken into account, if Yi Yu fully expands his perception range, he can almost cover a small country. Of course, there are still many gaps between this and the second Hokage and fourth Hokage during the Fourth Ninja War. After all, these two people were in the ancestral hall of Konoha village and sensed the battlefield tens of thousands of miles away. However, Yi Yu has just begun. As his perception proficiency continues to improve, his range of perception will continue to expand. It was only a matter of time before his sensory abilities would improve to the level of second generation and fourth generation. There may even be a day when the entire world is covered. Back to business. Listening to the continuous system prompts and watching the increasing proficiency of the system panel. Yi Yu's mood was extremely wonderful. Facts have proved that everyone is afraid of comparison. I used spiritual technique before, but within 3 weeks, my proficiency in spiritual technique only increased to 35%. This gave Yi Yu a feeling of suffocation as if he had entered a low-oxygen environment. Now, it takes 5 days to increase the proficiency of Flying Thunder God technique to 77%. This familiar speed, this familiar feeling. It gave Yi Yu a sense of comfort as he returned to a normal environment from low oxygen. Sure enough, using multiple shadow clone to gain proficiency is the right way. As he spoke, Yi Yu released multiple shadow clones. Bang bang bang. Along with the white smoke, all the shadow clones in the woods disappeared. And Yi Yu's body was immediately buffed with the weakness buff. Ahem, cough, 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 cough. It's great to use multiple shadow clone to gain proficiency, but the feeling of being hollowed out after every exercise is really uncomfortable. Saying that, Yi Yu hurriedly stuffed a Bingliong pill into his mouth, and his eyes fell on the system panel. I saw that the proficiency of chakra extraction has increased from 45% a month ago to 75%. The progress is the same as before, basically maintaining a daily growth of 1%. In 25 days, it will take another 25 days before the proficiency in chakra extraction will reach full level. By then, I will no longer have to endure this feeling of being hollowed out of my body. Yi Yu shouted in his heart. After resting for about an hour, Yi Yu was ready to release multiple shadow clone for another round of Flying Thunder God technique proficiency. Just when he raised his hands to form a seal, a burst of chakra appeared in his perception. Now that you're here, show up, Orochimaru. Yi Yu put down his hands, turned around and looked somewhere, and said loudly. At this moment, Yi Yu didn't even call him teacher. Call Orochimaru by his first name. If he hadn't gained the ability to perceive and improved his proficiency in perception, it would have been really difficult to detect Orochimaru's arrival. Hey, your senses are very keen. Orochimaru jumped down from a big tree, not at all ashamed that his secret observation behavior was discovered. Instead, he smiled and praised Yi Yu. What do you want from me? Yi Yu asked casually while thinking about Orochimaru's purpose. I want to know where did the experimental subject you gave me come from. Orochimaru originally wanted to observe Yi Yu, but now that he was discovered by Yi Yu, he had to reveal another purpose of looking for Yi Yu. Hearing Orochimaru's words, Yi Yu's heart moved. The last time he saw the Orochimaru pheasant sword, Yu wanted to learn how to make and operate the Orochimaru pheasant sword. In this way, the system can use the skill of sword controlling. But at that time, Orochimaru was too hostile to him. So when he exchanged white Zetsu, he only mentioned the forbidden technique and did not mention the method of making and operating the grass pheasant sword. Now, Orochimaru comes to visit. Yu didn't want bye boo-bye. Okay, I need the method of making and operating the grass pheasant sword. If Orochimaru wasn't trying to maintain his character, he would probably have said, "That's too much. I'm just asking you for directions, but you actually want me to make and control my secret weapon." Seeing Orochimaru's face was a little gloomy, Yu hurriedly said, "The Kusanagi sword is dispensable to me, but the place where I met White Zetsu is very remote. You can't find that place without me showing you the way." Quote. White Zetsu. Orochimaru secretly noted the name. HMPH. Boy, you are still too young. If the pheasant sword was really dispensable to you, you wouldn't explain so much to me. Orochimaru chuckled. Yu didn't care about Orochimaru's ridicule. "I'm just giving it a try. What if you were really willing to give me the method of making and operating the pheasant sword in exchange? Anyway, it's free to try." Without waiting for Orochimaru to speak, Yu continued, "Let's do this. I will use a piece of information that is very important to you to exchange with you the method of making and operating the grass pheasant sword. Yes, if your information is really important to me." Orochimaru wants to know how many secrets there are in Yu. Therefore, he did not immediately reject Yu's proposal. After all, the other party knew that he was secretly studying the forbidden technique. In Orochimaru's opinion, the other party may actually have the important information he needs. "I know a longevity technique called living corpse reincarnation." Yu looked at Orochimaru and spoke slowly. "Immortality technique." Orochimaru, who was originally very leisurely, suddenly changed his expression after hearing these 4 words. Orochimaru lost his parents when he was young. Therefore, he has long understood the fragility of life. It's just that he was young at that time and couldn't change anything. As an adult, he watched his disciple, Tsunade's younger brother Nawaki, being bombed to death in front of him. Then Tsunade's lover, Kato Dan, also died tragically on the battlefield. These 2 things deeply stimulated him. Once a person dies, there is nothing. There are still so many ninjutsu in this world worth learning and researching. However, human life is so short. Even if you spend your whole life learning ninjutsu, you will never be able to learn all the vast ninjutsu. He wants to be immortal, he wants to live forever. Over the years, he has studied various forbidden techniques and performed various forbidden experiments, just to find out the method of immortality. But now, Yu told him that someone had already researched the method of immortality. And this method of immortality is called living corpse reincarnation. How did Orochimaru know that the person who developed living corpse reincarnation was none other than himself? It's just him more than 10 years in the future. Living corpse reincarnation, hehehehe, Yu, you really have a lot of secrets. Orochimaru looked at Yu with excitement, stuck out his tongue and licked his cheek, and then said, "Okay, I agree to this deal. As long as you hand over the living corpse reincarnation to me, I will give you the method of making and operating the grass pheasant sword, for you." Hearing Orochimaru's words, Yu was speechless. Where the hell do I get living corpse reincarnation? I just knew there was such a forbidden technique. However, Yu didn't panic at all. He concluded that Orochimaru would definitely agree to trade with him. After all, for a researcher, a correct idea and a correct direction can save him from many detours on the road to success. "I don't have a living corpse reincarnation." As soon as Yu said these words, the smile on Orochimaru's face disappeared instantly, replaced by a murderous intent. "You don't have a living corpse reincarnation, you're a dick." The next second, Orochimaru opened his mouth, and a grass pheasant sword swept towards Yu at an astonishing speed. He wants to teach Yu a lesson. The pheasant's sword is fast. However, Yu is faster. Just when the grass pheasant sword was about to hit Yu's figure disappeared from the place. Flying Thunder God Technique. Orochimaru was surprised when he saw Yu disappear out of thin air. He recognized at a glance that what Yu was performing was Second Hokage's Flying Thunder God Technique. And looking at his proficiency, he doesn't look like a beginner at all. Orochimaru clearly remembered that he handed over the Flying Thunder God and other forbidden technique to Yu a month ago. That is to say, it only took Yu a month to practice the difficult-to-learn Flying Thunder God technique to such a silky smooth level. If Orochimaru were to know that it took only 5 days for Yu to practice the Flying Thunder God technique to such an extent, instead of a month, what kind of expression would he show? Don't be so excited. If you want to take action, you have to wait for me to finish speaking. Yu, holding a special kunai, walked out of the woods. After seeing Yu's Flying Thunder God technique, Orochimaru no longer had any intention of taking action again. He knew that if he didn't prepare in advance, it would be difficult to hurt Yu who knew the Flying Thunder God technique. He didn't say a word, but just moved his finger, and the flying pheasant sword flew back obediently. This scene made Yu's eyes extremely hot. This is the fake and shoddy version of sword control he wants. Although I don't have living corpse reincarnation, I know how this technique works. This principle should be able to save you a lot of research time. Hearing Yu's words, Orochimaru's narrow eyes narrowed slightly. This guy not only knew that I was conducting research on forbidden technique, but also knew that my research direction was immortality. Where did he get this information? What else does he know? Although Yu exposed Orochimaru's secrets one after another, Orochimaru felt murderous and vigilant. But Orochimaru also listened to Yu's persuasion. Just like Yu said, one principle and one direction of the method of immortality is enough to save him a lot of research time. The status of the method of immortality in his heart is far beyond the making and manipulation methods of the grass pheasant sword. Orochimaru was moved by Yu. After some weighing, Orochimaru finally said, "If the principle you mentioned is really useful to me, I can give you the method of making and operating the pheasant sword." Orochimaru didn't say it clearly. But Yu still understood what Orochimaru meant. The principle needs to be confirmed by practice. Not if you say the principle is true, then it is true. You tell me the principle first, and when I verify that this principle is really feasible, I will give you the manufacturing and manipulation methods of the pheasant sword. It's just that the process can be long. After all, practice takes time. If Yu gave the principles of other immortality methods, Orochimaru estimates that it will take several years of practice to verify whether this principle is true or false. It took several years, but Yu couldn't wait that long. Moreover, in a few years, Yu was confident that he could exert the power of 6 paths. With the power of 6 paths, wouldn't it be nice for me to control the fairway? Why use the pheasant sword? However, the principle given by Yu is the principle of living corpse reincarnation. Living corpse reincarnation was researched by Orochimaru for more than 10 years. Yu believes that Orochimaru's research on living corpse reincarnation was definitely not a sudden success, but the result of more than 10 years of research. This means that Orochimaru may already have the prototype of living corpse reincarnation in his mind right now, or there may be a certain concept in living corpse reincarnation. Once Yu explained the principle of living corpse reincarnation, Orochimaru would have a feeling, "It's almost the same as I thought, but more detailed and complete than I thought." Sure enough, when Yu explained the principle of living corpse reincarnation, Orochimaru's expression changed. Create a space of consciousness, transfer your own consciousness into this space, and then pull another person's consciousness into this space to devour it. In this way, you can obtain a brand new body. There is no mistake. This is indeed a way to live forever, and it coincides with an idea I had before. It has to be said that Orochimaru is indeed a genius in some areas. In just a moment, his thoughts collided with many sparks. If he were in his lab now, he promised to start researching it immediately. Just when Orochimaru's inspiration continued to emerge, Yu interrupted his thoughts. "Orochimaru, I have told you the principle of living corpse reincarnation. I believe that with your ability, you should be able to create a real one very soon. The way to live forever." His thoughts were interrupted by Yu, which made Orochimaru very angry. However, Yu was right. He had already thought of a lot through the principle of living corpse reincarnation. As long as he overcomes a few problems, he will be able to release the full version of living corpse reincarnation within 5 years. Seeing the expression on Yu's face, "If you don't give me the method of making and operating the grass pheasant sword now, I won't let you think about it," Orochimaru's face was very cold. He stared at Yu for several seconds, then reluctantly made a seal. Summoning technique. After the seal was completed, Orochimaru slapped his palm against the ground. A runic array like a spider web was formed instantly. Boom! Along with a puff of white smoke, a python was summoned. Orochimaru put his palm into the python's mouth, took out a scroll, and threw it to Yu without saying a word. Yu reached out and caught it, opened it and saw that it was indeed the method of making the grass pheasant sword. Moreover, there are several methods of making the pheasant sword recorded on it. There is Orochimaru's pheasant sword that can stretch 100 meters. There is also a Kusanagi sword like the one used by Uchiha Sasuke. Yu glanced at it casually, and then put the scroll away with great satisfaction. The transaction is completed, and I am very much looking forward to our next cooperation. If there is a problem I will come to you. At this point, Orochimaru suddenly paused, showed a playful smile, and continued, and you'd better not come to me. Yu's expression changed, and he looked at Orochimaru seriously, waiting for Orochimaru to continue speaking. The transaction between us has already made people suspicious. If I hadn't sealed Anko's memory of bringing you to me, I'm afraid someone would have come looking for you tonight. As Orochimaru spoke, his feet were gradually integrated into the earth beneath him. By the time he finished speaking, his body had completely submerged into the ground. Until Orochimaru's figure completely disappeared, Yu was still thinking about what Orochimaru said before leaving. He was thinking about who the person Orochimaru was talking about was suspicious. Third Hokage, or Danzo. The first thing Yu thought of was these two people. After all, these two people had the most power in Konoha. However, no matter which one of these two people it is, as long as Yu is still in Konoha, there will be some trouble. It seems that in future contact with Orochimaru, it is best to let Shadow Clone use the disguise technique to become someone else. Yu secretly warned himself in his heart, and then took out the scroll he had just traded with Orochimaru. In the next few days, you can brush up on the Flying Thunder God's proficiency and start making the pheasant sword at the same time. Ding! Congratulations on the host Flying Thunder God technique reaching the full proficiency level. Flying Thunder God technique automatically upgraded to space movement. After 2 days of intense work by Yu, he finally raised his proficiency in Flying Thunder God technique from 77% to 100%. And in his mind, the system prompt sound he wanted to hear most sounded. Flying Thunder God technique, finally maxed out. Listening to the wonderful system prompts, Yu released multiple shadow clones and sat down leaning on the big tree, with an expression of pain and happiness on his face. Immediately afterwards, he set his sights on the system panel. Host. Yu. Blood succession limit. Explosion style, full level, right pointing arrow explosion, 2%. Ninjutsu. Shadow clone technique, full level, right pointing arrow multiple shadow clone technique, 91%. Transformation technique, full level, right pointing arrow impersonation technique, 2%. Body flicker technique, full level, right pointing arrow phantom body flicker technique, 3%. Flying Thunder God technique, full level, right pointing arrow space movement, 1%. Spiritualization technique, 36%. Physical skills. Progress bar, 36%. Illusion, none. Abilities. Making detonating symbols, full level. Figure making, full level. Shuriken technique, full level. Chakra extraction, 78%. Perfect shot, 11%. Perception, progress bar. Yu glanced at other contents and locked his eyes on the space movement he had just obtained. Both the full-level transformation technique and the full-level body flicker technique can bring great surprises to Yu. Yu has great expectations for the ability upgraded to the full-level Flying Thunder God technique. Without any hesitation, Yu immediately began to check the effect of space movement. The next second, Yu's surprise was beyond words. As expected of the upgraded ability from the full-level Flying Thunder God. As an upgraded version of Flying Thunder God technique, space movement does not require the use of Flying Thunder God technique to travel through space. The effect is similar to Kuroko Shirai's superpower in Super Gun. Yu can instantly move himself or the items in his hand to anywhere he wants to go anytime, anywhere. However, the farther the distance, the heavier the item, the less accurate it is, and the more chakra is consumed. However, even so, Yu still saw the word magic skill, in it. At this moment, he had already thought of many techniques to use space movement to fight the enemy. For example, Deidara, who is about to self-destruct, can be teleported to the enemy's battlefield. Another example is to teleport a clay bomb into the enemy's body and then detonate the bomb. Or you can learn a Rasengan in the future and hit the enemy with a Rasengan from a distance of dozens of meters. An hour later, Yi Yu recovered some chakra and couldn't wait to start experimenting with the effect of space movement. He weighed the special kunai in his hand and aimed at a big tree not far away. I saw him wave his arms. The special kunai in his hand disappeared into thin air. The next moment, the kunai hit the big tree. With a bang, he fell to the ground. Forehead. Seeing the unique kunai falling to the ground, Yi Yu suddenly felt a little embarrassed. He originally wanted to use the space movement ability to make the distance between himself and the tree zero. In this way, the kunai in his hand will travel through a space of more than 10 meters and be nailed to the tree the moment he throws it out. But his proficiency in space movement is not high yet. It is impossible to accurately control the direction of the kunai after moving in space. This is like someone who is playing darts for the first time. They obviously want to nail the dart on the target, but after the dart is thrown, the dart spins half a circle during the flight, and finally the dart body hits the target. It seems that if you want to be proficient in using space movement, you will have to work hard. However, this mana consumption is really a bit much. Yi Yu just moved a special kunai to a place more than 10 meters away, and the amount of chakra he consumed was equivalent to using the Flying Thunder God technique once. You know, he uses the Flying Thunder God technique to move his entire body. But now, he uses space movement to move only a special kunai weighing less than 1 kilogram. Space movement: the heavier the object being moved, the more chakra is consumed. Once Yi Yu uses space movement to transfer his body, the consequences will probably be the same as Kakashi's use of Kamui. Chakra will fall off suddenly, and someone will need to carry it after a few blows. In a short period of time, spatial movement is only used to transfer small objects like kunai, and my body is transferred using the Flying Thunder God technique. Saying that, Yi Yu raised the special kunai in his hand and waved it. That characteristic kunai disappeared into thin air. The next moment, it hit the big tree. At the same time, Yi Yu activated the Flying Thunder God technique, disappearing from the spot and appearing where the special kunai was. From the time Yi Yu activates space transfer to move the special kunai to when Yi Yu appears where the special kunai is, it only takes a blink of an eye. Because all this happened so fast that ordinary naked eyes could not see clearly, Yi Yu's spatial movement this time was a two-step operation. Of course, only to the naked eye. Exceptions are made for senior Sharingan owners. To deal with ordinary ninjas, just one shot and 2 rounds are enough. But this combo might not be enough in front of Uchiha Madara. When chakra extraction proficiency reaches full level, the amount of chakra will skyrocket, and you will be able to freely use space to move. Yi Yu glanced at the 78% proficiency level of chakra extraction on the system panel and thought with satisfaction. The next day, after Yi Yu finished his daily chakra training, he did not go to the woods to improve his proficiency but walked towards Konoha Academy. Yesterday he received a call to take on the role of Jonin, and it seems he has another mission today. Yi Yu was walking on the road when a familiar shout suddenly came from behind him. Turning around, he saw a Might Guy, wearing a green jumpsuit, rushing over with sparks and lightning. When he arrived in front of Yi Yu, Might Guy came to a sudden stop. I went to your home and your usual training place but didn't find you. I didn't expect that you would be earlier than me in today's gathering. Might Guy said without breath. Yi Yu ignored the second half of the sentence, looked at Might Guy and asked, "What do you want from me?" "I have completely adapted to weight-bearing training on my legs. When can you arrange the gravity training you mentioned last time for me?" Might Guy made a leaf great whirlwind movement very easily, and then looked at Yi Yu with a hopeful look on his face. Looking at Might Guy's sincere eyes, Yi Yu suddenly felt guilty. Indeed, he promised to bring back an Earth-style super heavy rock technique in the future to help Might Guy with gravity training. But for the past month, his thoughts have been focused on the spiritualization technique and Flying Thunder God technique that he acquired from Orochimaru. Didn't even think about it. Won't you forget? Might Guy saw that Yu Yu's expression was a little strange, and then he leaned out half of his body, put his head in front of Yu Yu and asked seriously. Well, I forgot. Yu Yu told the truth. Might Guy suddenly looked frustrated. Seeing Might Guy like this, Yu Yu originally wanted to say, I will get back the ninjutsu that can increase gravity in a while. But suddenly, he thought that it seemed that more than just the earth-style super heavy rock technique could increase gravity. Otsutsuki Keigaya's gravity space, isn't it also possible? In the past, Yu Yu didn't think about Otsutsuki Keigaya's gravity space. After all, that place is in a different dimension. Even if you know the place, you can't go there. But it's different now. Yu Yu just obtained space movement. This ability allows Yu Yu to enter the different dimension space of Otsutsuki Keigaya. Thinking that Otsutsuki Keigaya has not been resurrected yet, the several extra-dimensional spaces she owns are in a state of ownerlessness. Yu Yu had a bold idea in his mind. Guy, it won't be long before I can get you into gravity training. Yu Yu patted Might Guy on the shoulder with a happy expression. Might Guy, who was extremely frustrated a second ago, recovered instantly after hearing Yu Yu's words. Really? That's great. Just wait a moment. Yu Yu said something to Might Guy, and then glanced around. Then his eyes fell on Might Guy's hair. Guy, pull out a hair and give it to me. He plans to first send a small and light object into Keigaya space to see how much chakra is consumed. After all, it was a different dimension. Who knows how much chakra it takes to get something in there. If, like Kakashi, he dies just by sending a rocket to Obito, it will be a huge loss. He needs to be well prepared. Hair strands are the best, not only light but also small in size. What do you want my hair for? Although Might Guy asked this question, he acted very quickly. Your hair is thicker. It's okay to pull one out. Yu Yu complained in his mind, then took the hair handed over by Might Guy and activated space movement. In just an instant, Might Guy's hair disappeared. And Yu Yu's chakra was missing at that moment. Holy crap, just sending a hair over actually consumes the amount of chakra of an ordinary ninjutsu. Fortunately, I didn't send the special kunai directly, otherwise, Might Guy would have to carry me back. Feeling the amount of chakra consumed in his body, Yu Yu felt both shocked and grateful. It seems that we need to maximize the proficiency of chakra extraction first, so that the amount of chakra will increase sharply. This will be safer. Yu Yu thought about it in his mind. Chakra extraction proficiency has increased from 78% to 79% this morning. If you just practice chakra every morning as before, then it will take about 20 days to reach the full level of chakra extraction. But Yu Yu can't wait to enter Keigaya's different space. He is preparing to do chakra extraction all day long in the next few days, trying to get the full chakra extraction as soon as possible. In this way, he can enter Keigaya's different space earlier. I hope everyone will support it and subscribe more.